When you hear the clicky sounds of a photographer rushing towards you as an avalanche might approach an antelope, you should hide from him lest you find yourself displayed on the internet as art. I found a guy and look at how sad he is. I'm not your art. Today we discuss, I have 3 hobotographers trying to get advice from this brain. You need a spoon for that.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So we're on the Sony ZV-E1 with the Voigtlander 35mm 21.2. A light is at 2% and it's clipping my damn forehead. So first question actually pertains to something I'm debating myself. I'm in his situation, only possibly worse off than he is. I've got the Sony Zeiss. Why didn't you mention Zeiss? 35mm 2.8, that's the only selling feature of that lens. It might have some pop, it does have some pop, and I'm debating getting that. You're debating switching out from it. That's the worlds we live in right now. But it's lacking for low light filming, oh no. You have a frickin' Sony camera, 12,800 ISO, oops, no longer low light problems. You're a loser. 35, 40mm. Would you recommend, oh God, are you seriously debating that flat sandwich bitch of a lens? What are you doing with that? You want to be in Gerald Undun's studio being filmed with that thing? It's like, oh, he has a nice little background. Too bad it doesn't pop. Huh. No to that lens. Seems great for video other than being clinical, no breathing, but probably flat. There's no probably about it. It's a death wish. Sony G Master? Are you even listening to a damn thing? Sony Distagon? How come you don't mention Zeiss ever? He never mentions Zeiss. Or similar focal length Batis. No Zeiss mentioned whatsoever. You've talked about 3 Zeiss lenses and not once. Are you allergic to writing Zeiss down? Do you have a Z broken on your keyboard? What the hell happened to you? Okay, calm down. If I was in this situation, and I am, I have the best option of any lens, 35mm 1.2 Voigtlander. You can't beat this look, but I'm in a prison. I can't move. Obviously, I don't know what you're even doing with it. Thanks for not mentioning it. I hate you. But like if you're doing anything, this would be a pain in the ass. I couldn't do street videography with this. Manually focusing, yeah. Yeah, keep walking towards me really fast. Yeah, no problem. So even though this is the best look you could ever get, I wish I could do more with it. 35 is a great slow motion street videography length. So like I've been debating, I used to have your lens, the 35mm 22.8 Zeiss lens, and it's tiny, it's cute. I sold it just because I have this. I wasn't really gonna do the street videography. I have the Zeiss 55, I don't really need it, but the one I'm debating, if I could replace this lens, which can't be done, it would be the Zeiss 35mm 1.4 that you rudely called a Distagon. I Distagoned your mom once. That's the lens that could potentially compete with this. It's much bigger, but at least autofocuses, but it's huge and heavy. That's why like, I don't want it. Technically, I would enjoy it more in here, but outside, I would rather have the tiny one you're thinking of replacing, and that's how dumb you are. Like you already have the best one. It's got the pop, it's tiny, it's cheap, you're done. Stop wishing for better things. And when it comes to 35mm in general, I'm not sure where I stand on, I think it's a lie that it's even plausible in a YouTube studio. Like there's too much happening. Just in my studio, whatever this is, it's a living room. If I built a set, then I could design the background to fit 35mm, it'd be perfect. It's like, oh yeah, things, towers, twin towers on the corners, 2 eagles, something like that. And it's like, okay. But like, when I just put this in my living room, it never looks right. 35mm is never the focal length. 50 is much better. 85 is a bit tight. Was that your question? I would get the Zeiss Distagon 35mm 1.4. Hope to God that you find a sharp copy, because there's been a lot of debates on quality control in that one. or just stick with your tiny Zeiss and laugh at the competition, or you get yourself a white lantern. Come on. Okay, I think we've had enough Sony color science for one day. Let's switch to the Fuji for the next question. 50 mil, perhaps? Fuji XH2S, 35 mil, 21.4. F-Log 2C. I actually got a comment the other day, said something like, "You idiot, you had Fuji and it sucked back then, why'd you get it again? You idiot, what do you expect would be different, dummy?" This lens is different. You should be arrested. And some guy replied to him like, "Yeah, you should see his other channel guys changing his mind all the time. You were banned immediately," by the way. So, what I've noticed. Fuji. I have no sentences prepared in my mind. I'll leave. You have a video saying that Viltrox 56mm 1.4 is the greatest lens ever. I doubt you can prove that. Is it still true? Or is the 56 1.2 a meaningfully better and worth the cost difference? Old me was dumb. He didn't know what he had. He thought like, oh, Viltrox, it's a 1.4. This is amazing. It's actually autofocusing better than a Fuji lens. I didn't know what 3D pop was. I hadn't been awakened to the system yet. I was in the matrix, plugged in. I was like, oh, yes, flat, good. I don't know when it happened. I think it was the Zeiss 55mm 1.8 where I first saw it. Don't quote me on that, but like, I was like, holy shit. Even though I'm like 30 feet away from the camera, there's this separation. Is that full frame? Or then I was awoken, I pulled the plug out, and then I was like, what is this? So Viltrox, you gotta be joking. We've seen it. We saw it. There's no pop on it. It's flat as pancakes. It's sharp. Viltrox doesn't make lenses that can be used by real people. The reality is the 56 1.2 is one of the best lenses ever made. Like, it has the pop, it's a 1.2, it's Fuji touch, it's got the color science of a Fuji married in. Autofocus motors are a little quirky. It's like your uncle comes to Thanksgiving and he drinks and he takes some pills in the back room and it's like, oh, he's acting a little strange. He's very inappropriate tonight, isn't he? And he's arrested. But point is, of course, the Fuji is the better lens. It's the best of that focal length. You can't beat it. In fact, the new 50mm Tony 1, you would think, oh, that's better. It's the modern version. It's flat as pancakes. Pancake hell. So it's like, no thanks. Viltrox is crap. So Fuji is the obvious answer, and you can find it used. Is it that much more than a Vil? Probably. But, you know, like, totally. If you're looking to experience the depth of a scene, you want a true-to-life rendering, you're not like a cardboard cutout green screen freak, get the Fuji. Through my affiliate links, of course. I'm trying to sell that Viltrox lens right now. The Steinbeck gift immediately got put on the market. Once I saw the autofocus performance, then I updated the firmware and it got better, but it's a Viltrox. What are we even doing here? So, of course, if I wanted 85mm equib on the Fuji, it'd be that original 1.2. Do I need it? Highly unlikely. I said I didn't need an 85mm and I lied right to your face. Canon C70, 85mm 1.2. No glimmer glass, just life. This thing is very close to me. That could be dramatic. I hit my elbow on the thing. Last question here. Hi, what do you recommend to buy, Sigma 16mm or Sony 15mm? My camera's FX30. God, you just grossed me out 3 times in a row. Oh my God. Oh God, he's in Sony APS-C and he's debating between 2 of the flattest bullshit lenses. One super overpriced, the other super fat. Wow. Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner at McDonald's, anyone? Grow a sack. Okay, I'll be honest with you. That Sigma 16mm, it's a gloriously sharp lens. It's fantastic. Just for YouTube stuff, you get your separation. It's different though. You're a cardboard cutout. There's no pop. But is that always important? I see it. And when I see it, I can't unsee it. I see most YouTubers you know are filming their videos on a flat lens. And you probably like it. It's crisp. It's nasty. But like, okay, it's not bad. If I was going with one of those, here's the debate. The Sigma is much heavier. It's annoying to have that. You're not vlogging with that thing. Whereas the Sony 15mm, that's tiny and cute. And it's 1mm wider. So you could vlog with it. I've done it. I've been there on it. Even with the ZVE10 with no stave, for some reason it was like stable. It's amazing. With no digital crop, nothing. So if it's me and I'm forced to get one of those two lenses, I'm definitely not overpaying for some flat bullshit Sony lens. So I would get the Sigma and I'd just be cool with it. I've done the A6400 in here. It looked fantastic. Some say I've never beaten that image to date. And you're probably right. It's good. It's good enough. You don't need the pop all the time. Some of us need it, and we don't know why we do. But like, you're not having it. You're an APS-C Sony. You have a FX3 sized body with a tiny sensor, and you're a moron. But that's fine. You couldn't afford anything better. And there's nothing wrong with that. You didn't realize the Sony ZVE1 is even cheaper. Oh, whoops. Like, you're dumb. But like, whatever. You don't market research. You don't look around. You don't hunt for the deals. You don't pounce like a kitten. Like, you're in the situation you're in, and deservedly so. I hope BigFit steps on you. I said BigFit. He lost weight. All right, just a bonus question, because that last hobo, I don't want to leave this video depressed, where it's like sadness, and what the hell was that? Hello, Casey, I need a little bit of help if I could. I have the A6700 with the Sony 18-105. Oh, God. If there was any lens you could have gotten worse than those last two flat bitches, you got like a super zoom Sony Tony 4. Wow. My God. How do you even live with yourself? I make films on my motorcycle, so it's quite dynamic, the usage. I get off, take my camera, film my buddies, or me moving. You could get some shots with that. It has stave in it, I am imagining. A little sync stave. Ooh. Zoom in 105. Look at that compression. Hey, Steve, go jump off the cliff. Do it with drinking a beer. Steve's dead in 3 years. We all know that. I can't figure out what is best to use, manual or aperture priority. My footage seems a lot underexposed. I'm static. No one cares about any of your thoughts further. You're done. That's the biggest conundrum. Here's what my advice. If you're in controlled lighting and you know exactly what you're doing, I never do. I'm always in manual here. I always used to be in aperture priority here, but you'll see it flashing all the time. You raise your hands and it's like, oh, compensate for that. And a lot of flashing lights. It's bullshit. But when I'm outside, slow motion street videography, that's always aperture priority. I set my Tonys and then you do the rest, asshole. Some cameras do that better than others. Some don't. So like, Sony is often quite dark because they don't clip any highlights. That's nice, but they'll never expose for your face unless it's like a ZVE10 with its face exposure. So like, aperture priority can get you by. If you're just like trying to do quick stuff with your drunk buddies, yeah, aperture priority all the way. Why would you even debate it? It just gets tricky when there's like the dual base ISO. I remember my A7S III and I'd be in aperture priority and then it's like 10,000 ISO it's choosing sometimes, which is the worst one ever, and it wouldn't bump up, and sometimes it would go up to 12,800 clean up and then go back and the banding would return, and it's a nightmare, but you'll live. So get to know your aperture priority, and just exposure comp dial is your friend. So like, if you're in log, you want to be like +1 sometimes. So judge the scene. You can always just have that dial. Do you even have that A6700? What a loser. Does my ZVE1 even have that? Probably not. But that's what you're playing around with, exposure comp, and then maybe the odd time you can just switch into manual ISO and choose the one that's perfect for your scene if you have enough time for that. Nikon doesn't even let you do that. In aperture priority, you have to be auto ISO. You can't go manual. You suck. Who won today's battle, my friend? We started with a Sony disgusting color science, a 35mm. That face being stretched towards you? No thank you to that. Even though he's using The same LUT I'm using. Same exact LUT, no color space transform, no nothing. I'm literally using Canon's LUT on a Sony camera somehow. Then we switched the Fuji. Can you even beat it? Can you even match it? Of course you could, with a Canon camera, and you destroy it, and Fuji's like, what the hell was that? It's a gimmick. Your leather pants are leaking. But that's fine. Some like it. It's a vintage touch. You don't know what you're talking about. All three were vintage 3D pop lenses, beautiful in their own right. And that's what we learned today. Not a damn thing. But still, affiliate links are available to us, and we should take advantage of them. Do you agree with the advice today? Do you have any advice for those hobos that differ from mine? If so, I will delete your comment and ban you for 7 days after you donate Bitcoin. Subscribe for more, Santa.